check out Glycerol's awesome piece on champions coming back into the meta. The second half is all about Smitty J's split pushing Fizz, which we saw last week, which sunk DiguU's chances and may open the floodgates for more innovative picks. And I'm really hoping for a top lane Northus or a mid lane AP Assassin Leona. That'd be great. But you can find it under the article tab with the title Rising from the Dead.
Hey, just because you got a shout out on LCS about your Nautilus.
Wasn't even top, dude.
No, I know, it's support. That's not even the same.
Yeah.
It's not so good.
Sad times. But let's get back on track with Mouse versus Gamers 2. With Lowland Lions lost earlier, Gamers 2 now only need to win this game to draw level with Lowland Lions. And because Gamers 2 own a head-to-head with Lowland Lions, it means they would then take the second place seed going into playoffs. For Mouse, they're done. They're out of the Challenger Series and will have to re-qualify regardless of what they do now. And I was never, going on to the opposing team, I was never really sold on the general consensus from Challenger teams that Gamers 2, formerly Nuvo, were a second-place team. But they've really developed through the round robin. They've looked really good from week to week to week, and their consistently better performances have just turned my opinion around.
So I was kind of in the camp that assumed that they'd be around that second, third spot. The problem that they've always had and still have to this day, though, is that if Gamers 2 don't get Gilius ahead, they have quite a lot of issues in the game, and they still haven't fixed that as a team. And that's something that I would have liked to have seen grow, like we've seen other teams like Team Dignitas grow over the season. I don't really feel the same way about Gamers 2. They've still got a lot of presence, they've still got a lot of potential, but I really need to see them fix that between now and the playoffs. Yeah, absolutely. That is one of their big problems. However, let's break down the rosters. So, on Mouse, it is Zazas in the top lane, Robin the 4th in the jungle, Soz Purefect, Cedrian, and Mountain finishing out that roster. And over on the other side, it's Gamers 2 with Smitty J in the top lane, Gilius in the jungle, Ica in the mid lane with Jeebus and Hiva in the bottom lane. Yes, sir. And before we get to the game, we need to note that Gamers 2 played with a sub yesterday and lost their bans due to Jeebus not being able to play. So just some clarity before we get into this. Yeah, exactly. And honestly, this game was pretty crazy when it comes to the team compositions. And as we get into the highlight clips, you'll see exactly what we mean. Yeah. Crazy is one way to put it, Stress. Teemo and Gangplank is another way to put it. It is. That's exactly what we had. And said Gangplank will somehow pick up a first blood onto Smitty J and that Rumble. Never thought you'd say that one, but at the same time, Varus down in the bottom lane, shot to the heart, and it's too late for Hiva. That's a heartbreaker. But, you know, I never thought I'd say this either, and it's Gangplank and Varus ult synergy, which they layer perfectly here to pick up a couple kills, while the Swift Scout makes his rounds and gets his first assist. It was a very bloodthirsty game, though, as you can see already over that 30 kill mark in 38 minutes. And, you know, 38 minutes in, Mouse pick up this kill, or these series of kills. They've had a good lead from the bottom lane, just in general for this entire game. They pick up the fight, they pick up the inhibitor, and they're looking in a very strong situation to pick up their first win. Yeah, and you know, one final fight from Gamers 2 right at the end here is just one last desperate attempt, and as you kind of touched on, they were just so far ahead. Mouse, with this composition, just kind of built so much of a big lead, and despite this great engage by Gilius, they're just so far ahead with this monstrosity of a team composition, and Mouse just forced the surrender at 43 minutes. They just hand in the towel. Gamers 2 lose to Mouse. Yeah, I mean, yeah, they lose to a Teemo and a Gangplank. I mean, there's no delusions about this game. Yeah. This was a game in which Gamers 2 were not playing with their full roster, and while that is an excuse, it isn't an excuse for the score at the end. You have to feel like today's game is going to be a little bit different to this one, but we highlighted a couple of stats coming from that game. The first was a Varus that we don't really see too often anymore. 9-2 and 11. Cedrian really made his impact known there as 18.3k gold. Yeah, he had that slight buff in the last patch where the arrow that you charge up actually goes on cooldown when you start charging it instead of when you release it, but not enough to bring him to viability. No. Meanwhile, Soz Purefect on Teemo went 6-3 and 10. Not something I thought I'd ever hear said. Well, I mean, we had High playing it, but that was a long time ago. True. But yeah, that's kind of how that one worked out. And then one of the players that did play something a little more standard was Smitty J on Rumble. 5, 8, and 5, not the best performance there. A lot happened in this game that when you go back and look at it. But certainly the gold was not in his favor in yesterday's game either. But it was a crazy game. Part of me wants a crazy game, part of me wants a standard game. Yeah, there's a large part of me that wants them to kind of play seriously, because there's a lot on the line for Gamers 2. Mouse, they're just playing to upset people at this point, but Gamers 2,
they can affect their own seedings heading into playoffs, and they do not want another game where Heaver is forced to play AD carry.
No.
So, yeah, I mean, Heaver being their support player. So hopefully they come in here with their full roster and just, you know, play to win, because this is so unbelievably important. And yesterday's results were very backwards from what we were thinking they were going to be. So that really has shook up what we were expecting coming into today. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, because as you said, Gamers 2, there's still a lot on the line for them. They still need to try and secure that second place spot. I mean, they've avoided Origin, but they still need to lock down exactly where they're going. And it's kind of problematic here that you want that side selection for games 1 and 3 in the playoffs. It gives you the better advantage, gives you the setup of the game that you completely want.
Yeah. So we'll get into Champion Select here and see what the teams have to offer. And I think the first time I saw a team just only pick the red side was Giants back in the in that expansion tournament, and they were like, "It's a mistake. We've made a mistake."
It did kind of get them into LCS.
Yeah, it did. So. But at the time, they were panicking. So let's see how this one goes.
We will see how this goes.
LeBlanc as the first ban. We're going towards Ica. We do get the Scion, which was played yesterday. No, we're not going to see the Teemo ban, stress.
Hey, it won yesterday. I never thought I'd say that.
And the unfortunate thing is we're probably never going to see a Teemo again, so it just remains at a 100% win rate with...
Oh, that is the depressing thing.
Varus and Gangplank.
Gangplank, Varus, and Teemo have a 100% win rate. And a Zyra.
And a Zyra. Might see a Zyra at some point. But Lulu does come in as the next ban towards Gamers 2, so as Johnny as well. Again, banning that top-tier jungler away from Mouse, and Hecarim banned away from Smitty J, or even jungle, if they decide to go for it.
Yeah, there's a lot of flexes that have been banned here. Sion is a bit of a flex, top jungle, Lulu, a lot of flexing, Hecarim as well. Gambit played Hecarim jungle, wasn't the most convincing of picks. It's good for engage, but that's about it. And final top lane ban to round us out.
It will be Irelia. So yeah, kind of becoming one of the more staple top laners as of recently. A lot of top laners do play that champion, and if you can play it, then sure, fit it into your composition, but that will be taken away from Zazuz, in case he wanted to try that one. Interesting enough, Hecarim was banned by Malz, even though Zazuz were the one to play that twice last week, so I don't know if they're banning it away from themselves. But
maybe the case. I mean, what's open here? That would not be the... Okay,
they lock it in. So they lock in Olaf. It's the beginning of the end, maybe?
Right. Okay, so Olaf first pick is not... It's not standard, but it's not unheard of.
Yeah, we've seen it.
We know Fnatic like to play Olaf out of the jungle.
With the
There's another team in Challenger that I've been kind of following around and watching some of their games that have been picking Olaf as well. So I don't know about first picking Olaf. He has a lot of strength in dueling potential and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, Rek'Sai's also open, Nidalee's
exactly.
also open.
That's what I was going to go to next. Was like, there's so many standard junglers open that that's not a standard jungler.
No, it's not.
There's so many standard picks open that maybe Mouse have got something in store for us again.
Yeah, so what Gamers 2 do
That's
is
that
is that Annie has been picked up.
That overwhelming sense of disappointment.
Nidalee has also been picked up by Gamers 2, so I have a lot of faith in you guys. I do think you're going to be picking good composition. So Mouse, however, swapping between a couple interesting champions.
All that I can say at this point is if Teemo has a 100% win rate after this game, I'm going to be so sad.
Yeah, hopefully it drops
Something
down to
would have
50%.
gone really wrong if that happens this week.
Yeah, so honestly, I find it very difficult to predict now what Mouse are going to be picking.
Yeah, I'm not going to try.
Now with this pick, they'll be picking this, but now with this Teemo, they could be picking
Maybe they'll pick Cassiopeia and go bot lane and go for that Teemo
Maybe. I love
synergy.
that lane. It's awesome, because if you poison with Teemo, you can follow up with the Twin Fangs from Cass. Super good.
Keeps ticking. I mean, they could. At this point, they actually could.
I say super good, but it's not.
Super good if you want to troll your team.
Yeah, so, okay. What do Gamers 2 want to lock in, though? Because they've locked in and they lead the great early game jungler. Annie as well for that bot lane. They also do lock in the Cogmore. Lulu has been banned away, so they won't be going for the quote-unquote Juggermore composition, but they may just bring a nice front line or something to help out the Cog as we progress through the game. So they'll just be finding that as a strong pick for Jeebus.
Yep, something we've seen Jeebus on Cogmore as well.
We have.
We've seen it time and time again. And G2 right now, they're going pretty much down the standard route, as opposed to Mouse's not standard at all route. And at this point, I'd love to kind of think of what kind of composition are both teams building towards right now. G2 right now between Nidalee and Cog, they're going to have a lot of sieging potential just from throwing a lot of projectiles out. That's going to work quite well for them. Mouse, I don't know what they're doing. They're looking not to win. And actually, okay, this is really interesting. And this is something that I've kind of been hearing a little bit from some mid laners, is that Cogmore is really strong mid right now.
Is Wormhole back?
It wormed back. I mean, we saw Power of Evil try it in the European LCS.
Did. Actually won.
However, Lgends Echo apparently, if I'm remembering rightly, is very strong on Cogmore. It just means that you can get so much damage out in a small area around a team fight that if you're protected, you can get out so much damage. And I guess we're going to see that here. It's likely to be Cogmore in the mid lane.
Yeah, that would be very cool to see. Yeah, Cogmore hasn't been seen all the time, as you mentioned, has seen some play in the LCS, of course, by Power of Evil, but that Lgends Echo would kind of work. I mean, he does spam a lot with the ultimates. You're going to get those charges up very quickly. It's not the fastest book in the world, but you know, he'll be able to get those charges up fairly quickly. So we'll see how this works against them. It is, of course, more of a siege comp, especially with the Nidalee that they're looking for here now. And that will be the two final lock-ins from Mouse. So it is Varus again. Once again, we do see that pick coming out. And the Zac as well, which has seen some play in jungle specifically.
Yeah. Olaf and Zac, one of them is going top, one of them is going jungle. That's going to be an interesting one to see which exactly goes where. And you can see Gamers2 having a moment to figure that one out as well, because they're not too sure where that's going either. But Mouse are just doing things. They've got a Teemo, they've got an Olaf.
They do. They do have that.
I wish I could bring some analysis onto that team comp, but it sadly isn't there. What they do somewhat have is good engage with Zac, but I'm stretching on that one.
So is Zac. So on Gamers 2, they are looking for their final pick. Somehow don't. Well, it could be Gunnar, but we're not going to see that one.
No. Okay, they're going to go scaling.
Yeah.
So
Jax. There we go.
What Gamers 2 have basically said here is, your composition is bad.
Yeah.
We're just going to have a comp that if we get ahead, we'll win anyway on it. So
we're going to let you do your thing, and then we're just going to win. So
unless this Mouse composition, I don't even want to go here, but unless this Mouse composition actually gets somehow a 20-minute win, it's done. That's game. Done.
Well, yes, if they win the game, it's done.
No, yes. Okay, this comp is really just annoying my brain right now, because basically they're not good.
Yeah, it's not really a composition.
It's not a comp.
But what we can talk about is Gamers 2's composition, which is all about that siege. They do have some engage of the Annie and also the Kalista. So they have the Kalista coming in here. They also have the Jax as well for the split pushing pressure. And if Mouse, if any one of those horrible picks doesn't manage to get to the stage where they can duel Jax, then that's going to become a serious problem for them. And it's unlikely that anyone does, unless, you know, Olaf the Berserker somehow.
Who's going to duel Jax? Teemo has a blind. It's going to work for about 2 seconds, and then Jax is going to murder you. I mean, you better have
for now.
You better have like full AP Teemo sat on like 4 mushrooms, and you lead him through them.
Yeah, he's like counter striking. You just place a shroom on top of him. It's like get out traded.
Yeah, exactly. That's what has to happen.
Yeah. So Teemo has to be so far ahead, and he has to be like fairly tanky as well. He can't just build glass cannon.
You're talking 6 items to 1 item.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
That's how this has to go.
Yeah. I was watching a video where 6 item Xin Zhao was playing against a level 1. Six item level 1 Xin Zhao was playing against level 18 with no items Xin Zhao.
Right.
And the level 1 won because it was just more stats. But if you think about it, you gain around 600 gold worth of stats per level as a champion in terms of stats compared to the gold that you actually accumulate. And it was really funny because they had to just kill wards for like hours to get level 18 because and get the gold rather, because otherwise if they killed minions then they would level up. So they had to just keep killing wards.
So really I guess now we've learned that if a competitive game ever devolves to killing wards for 3 hours, and then Xin Zhao's at level 1 with 6 item build.
And that's as stupid as the Teemo versus Jax matchup.
I mean, I can't argue with you on that one.
Yeah. So we'll see what they manage to do here. It's going to be a difficult game for sure for Mouse with this composition. Yes, they did win yesterday, but they picked up the early advantages from the disorientated bottom lane because of the sub, and Heaver just wasn't able to get ahead in lane. You even saw in the highlight clip that he was just picking up kills with the Varus over and over and over again. So we'll see. We'll see if the game changes in this one, which I expect to be the answer to be yes.
Well, something that won't change quite yet is that we're actually waiting on Mouse for to get into the game. The two players having latency issues, which may explain the Teemo pick. I don't think that counts as lag.
Lag. I picked Teemo by mistake twice.
Like, there's lag here
before it gets to the arm.
Exactly.
We would have clicked it first, though. You know.
Maybe. Yeah. Okay. That's
There's some latency somewhere.
So Teemo against Kog'Maw. In theory, the blind, but then you just get out traded. As soon as the blind is gone, you
Q
just
comes out, E comes out, ult comes out.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, and he'll get outranged as well from the auto attack, so he won't even get in range to blind.
Yep.
So.
And then when W gets really strong from Kog'Maw, he just kills him from the distance. Yeah.
From the jungle, we did actually find out that the Olaf was going to go into the jungle here, so he'll actually run Exhaust, so he's not running a defensive summoner either.
Right. Okay. So, I mean, it's weird to say that the Olaf jungle is probably one of the most standard things in this game, which we have seen Fnatic run. It has a fair amount of damage early. It's going up against Gilius on Nillion. We spoke about it in the pregame. If Gilius gets ahead, Gamers 2 do well. And from there, this is the setup that Gilius should easily be able to get ahead to begin this game. And that should be enough for Gamers 2. If the composition from Mouse isn't enough of a plus in their favor, certainly the jungle matchup should be.
Yeah, I mean, even in this composition, I kind of would have liked to see a Zac jungle, because at least it would have given them some ganks in the bottom lane and top lane. Like, even the mid lane, even though Teemo doesn't have CC, they still might have the damage if they CC Kog'Maw, because his main problem is getting in range of the Kog'Maw in the first place. With Olaf, they don't have an ability to actually get there. But either way, as always, when you see a cool play, tweet at LOL Esports using the hashtag #ChallengerBigPlays, and you could see your response on the show. And I feel like we may see some plays. I'm not sure if they're going to be big plays, but streams perhaps in the right places, perhaps.
Maybe. They're yodel-sized plays.
Yeah. Tweet that as well, you know, yodel-sized players if Teemo goes big. Because he did yesterday, you know, like the ult synergy as well. Either way, we are going to get into game here and see how this one works out. Gamers 2, if they pick up this win here, would be very nice for them. It will, of course, put them equal to Lowland Lions, and as they won the head-to-head, it puts them ahead. So this win will be very nice for them to get. Meanwhile, Mouse, nothing really to play for other than upsetting Gamers 2 and their seeding. And as you mentioned before, the implication of getting that seed is very nice to have.
Yes, it is indeed. As we already mentioned, it will give teams the ability to choose their side of the map for games 1 and 3. But speaking of the map, we are on to Summoner's Rift for our last round-robin game of the European Challenger Series. What do Mouse have for us? Can they get themselves a second win here?
So Teemo duking out of the way of the spear. Can he make it the 100% win rate for Teemo? It is currently. Both of the wards have been placed down onto either side. Robin is not currently moving. Okay, now he is. He's got the trinket, and he'll be heading into his jungle. Heaver gets the harass onto Mountain. Won that trade. Gilius as well, trading off with Zazas, but Zazas is the top laner here, picking up some of the bits of himself, will be able to get some of his health back. Ward over the wall, maybe to disrupt a potential Jax level 1 play onto the Raptors. We may try and get the early level 2 to get the upper hand.
Oh, Teemo.
Heaver from the bot side knew where he was stealthed up. Get harassed. He's just kind of going from the jungle to the mid lane, harassing people. Interesting. Sauce Pure Effect will go back early. The minions have spawned, so he may... he stopped recalling. Yeah, he would have missed a couple minions had he decided to recall there.
Yes, he would have indeed. And Zazas did get some vision down, and I wonder whether he'll go back in to try and scout out a little bit more here from where Gamers 2 are starting. Now, the key thing is he's playing Zac, which means a la Hansel and Gretel, just leave blobs on the way and you can find your way back into the jungle pretty easy. It's a trail of breadcrumbs, but it's a trail of special weapons act blobs.
Indeed.
Anyway, red buff goes over to Gilius at this point, and Mouse are going to start off with actually the most standard thing that has happened yet in this game, with starting Krugs.
Yeah, so they'll have that equal advantage up against the bottom lane of Gamers 2, who also did the same thing onto the Grump. They shared the EXP. And Robin is dropping low in the jungle versus blue buff. We'll see if he survives his one-on-one here. Looks like he does.
Well, I mean, Olaf, when he drops low, of course, is going to just be able to sustain himself up pretty well throughout.
And he's actually going to go for a full clear here.
Yeah.
By being on low HP. So this is risky because if Gilius finds you, he just auto-attacks you once and you're dead.
Ooh, Mountain gets locked down in the bottom lane. It's been a long time since we've seen a Varus in competitive play, if you exclude yesterday's games, which we saw in the highlights. So, interested to see how Cedrian now does in a far more standard matchup here.
Yeah, typically he likes to max the E because it's an instant way to proc your blight stacks from W. We'll see if he decides to max Q or E, but typically E is the way to go.
We will have to keep an eye on that as this game goes on. But,
got the
you know, the mid lane is actually now surprisingly... I don't want to say surprisingly even on CS, but it started 6 CS to 1 in favor. Oh, Gilius. Oh, that was a very close
there.
spear.
Jumps over the wall. He tries to assassinate Robin here. He does get exhausted because he has that combat somewhere there, but I'm not sure if there's enough damage. He turns it around. Look at that damage from the Berserker.
Oh,
First blood.
Gilius
Jukes into the bush, cuts the vision, gets him with the takedown. Timo now coming in for more, jumps over the wall, and nets himself a double buffs.
Yeah, he nets himself double buffs. That's actually may be enough in this laning phase. That was just, you already talked about how greedy the full clear can be out of Olaf, and Gilius knew this, uses Nidalee's, early game pressure to his advantage, and you can see Sos Perfect is now chasing Ica out here.
Yeah.
I thought he was about to chase into the turret. He stopped just about a pixel off turret range, but Sos Perfect now, dare I say it, has a little control for the next couple of minutes in mid lane.
Yeah, I mean, like, he can just run at Ica, and he has to run in the other direction because he can't trade with him. He probably won't be able to get the damage down, but still, Zazz and Smitty J still batting away at each other. Zazz is not really shutting down Smitty J's jacks. Bottom lane trading off. Hiva and Jeebus putting down the damage onto Mountain. The Ren looking to come out. Hiva's taking a bunch of damage. He has all those blight stacks on him. And you do have Olaf coming into this action as well. Comes in with the undertow. And Jeebus as well, kiting backwards using that martial poise.
Top
now
lane,
he comes
though.
back in. This is Smitty J trying to get the CC onto Zazz's flash into the counter-strike. They're now going into his passive form. And it's just a matter of picking up the kill. Will he smite him to death? No, he does not have smite. And Smitty J will be picking up the kill.
And that was just a well-worked gank there out of Gilius. They knew that Zac was pushing up. Got his flash early on, but bottom lane...
Undertow again, lands onto Hiva. He turns around, tries to get some damage out. Jeeva's following through. We'll be getting the stacks onto Cedrian, but it's Hiva who's going to go down first. Blight stacks are following through. Tries to get the proc. He gets it. Double kill for the Varus Cedrian. 3 for 2 currently. They are ahead by 200 gold.
They are, and man, that Varus matchup is very risky when you flash forward, but he knew he could get the kill. They now have to be careful in that lane for another couple of minutes here, but back to this mid lane. Look at the damage that Sos Perfect's already putting out onto Ica, but this AP cog just rolls out the Void Ooze, and it's enough to make Sos Perfect turn around.
And as much as this is happening in the early game, as Robin again dropping low, but using that passive to increase his attack speed, as this early game is going, you have to remember how Smitty J is going to get strong, as will Ica, as their composition is built around Siege, so games 2 are definitely not out of it. Double buffs have indeed timed out. Ica will be following through here. And Gilius is trying to get a gank up, but Timo is so far back, so Perfect should be safe from this.
I was waiting for the spear there. It's, one spear would have been enough. As Azis, taking a lot of damage from Smitty J now that he's got this sheen as well. So adds these short bursts of trades here in favor of Smitty J. And Azis is going to have to use his abilities to try and heal himself up in this top lane. Does have a couple of potions still in his inventory though, but I'm really interested about this mid lane. Ooh, there's the spear landing. Sos Perfect now knows that he's in a lot of trouble and has to back away.
Yeah, so he's maxing his Q here, as opposed to E, which is sometimes what we see top lane teamers do in solo queue. You will max the E because you get the lane harass. You just generally outtrade people, but in the mid lane, he just needs something range.
Spear.
Get over the wall.
Spear? No.
Doesn't find him.
Couldn't quite
Not
get
into
the
breach.
spear. Ica, however, even though the double buffs came out on Timo, all that did was allow Sos Perfect to hold this lane even for a couple of minutes longer than perhaps he should have, because Ica now ahead again on CS, and Sos Perfect is just getting harassed down again and again. And that's one of the really difficult things to deal with against Kog'Maw, is if you can't get on top of him, and completely shut him down in the lane, he will just harass you. Especially once you start building tier, which Kog'Maw has just picked up. You just have so much mana to just lay out your E's, your ultimates, and just completely bully your opponent out.
Yeah, it's really just about surviving the early game from Gamers 2, letting Mouse do whatever they want to do, and just getting stronger, using their composition. And it just really is down to how Gamers 2 use their composition, because if they do it well, then it should win. We'll see what happens in this bottom lane here as Robin again comes in with the undertow. We'll be activating the Ragnarok, looking to go under the turret, maybe just get the damage down with a reckless swing. Gets another kill for himself. In fact, 100% kill participation so far. And has the Barmy Cinder, so looking towards the Cinder Hulk, as we've seen previous Olafs before him do, and he's also gone for the skirmishes. But meanwhile, as he was in the bot lane, Gilius will be taking the blue buff in response. But in response to that play, Mouse will now move on to the Dragon.
Dare I say that Mouse are in an okay position right now. They're ahead in gold. They will be ahead in dragons at the end. And they're getting kills onto Varus. Now, a lot of people overlook Varus as an AD carry just because of his immobility. And let's talk about the positives of Varus as an AD carry. He has high damage versus people who have a lot of health. He has a lot of, from those blight stacks, you deal a lot of percentage damage. Even in the mid game, once you get a couple of items, in this game, Cedrian is maxing his Q. And in very old style builders, we'd see a primary damage item into a Last Whisper, and it would essentially be like a kind of a Legolas build, which was like the full penetration on his Q. I would have to go and check what Cedrian is running from his runes and masteries as well, but you used to build a lot of penetration and a lot of damage and just queue people off the map and then set up fights with your ult. The key weakness is his immobility, and we may very well see that get capitalized on here, but Robin's going in on Jeebus here.
He is, and there comes the ultimate, probably the most missed ultimate in the game. Comes through here, doesn't quite land on Jeebus, and there's a lot of Rend stacks landing onto the backside of Olaf as he tries to escape. Gilius coming in from the top as well. There's the Rend onto Cedrian, gets the slow out. Gilius needs to land this spear to get the kill, and does not do so. Here is the teleport now from Zazas. He has Let's Bounce, he has the E as well to get in range, gets the knock up onto Hiva, but no one's in there to follow up. Gilius now comes back into the action. There's another Rend onto Robin. Gilius has to land the spear again and does not do so. And that's no kills going towards Gamers 2 or Mouse. Oh, another flash into the spear again. Misses 3 spears in a row.
Oh, and you know, the key thing in that fight was as Zazas re-engaged, it was just a little bit miscommunicated with the rest of his team, as Mouse couldn't follow up on the damage. And what that's going to do is mean that Zazas teleports out. Smitty J now going to take down this top tower, and this is the terror of Jax, as we have seen time and time again. Now that this tower is down, he's going to be well on his way to his Trinity Force, and is going to start that split push off.
Yeah, Zach now coming into the top lane will just be firing away. Interesting enough, he did have a small buff in the last patch where his knockup is now 1 second duration compared to 0.5, and his W becomes this reservoir of CD. So once he uses W and it lands on people, his next cooldown will be reduced by 1 second. So he can just kind of keep spamming that all the way through these team fights if they get there. We've not really spoken too much about the Mouse composition as they don't really have one, but when we get to team fights, Zaz as an initiator, Robin getting to the backlines, and if Teemo somehow gets ahead, which he is currently, even though he's behind on farm, might not be horrible.
Might not be horrible.
I mean, Gamers 2 don't necessarily want to go for team fights because they have the siege composition.
And they've got scaling.
They just want to keep kiting back, and that's pretty much perfect against the likes of Teemo and Olaf, who have to just run at you. But not so good against Zazas, just in case he lands a perfect initiation. But as we've seen so far, Zazas on initiating top laners has honestly not really performed. So on the Hecarim, he was never able to get his teleport home guard in the right place, always knocked back. It was actually, last week we saw Fresh just knock him back continuously. So it's really down to if Zazas can actually perform on initiators, they might have a chance, but it will be down to him, really, and whether he's made that change.
And that's a really good point, actually, about Zazas and initiating. Is, as you said, it has been lackluster. And the problem is he is their primary engage in this comp. Then the follow-up engage comes from Cedrian, and pretty much that's it. So if Cedrian's ult misses, if Zac misses and Cedrian misses with his ult, then they are about to get engaged on by Gamers2, and that is a problem that they really can't sit by. Oh, the spear has landed under the turret. Cedrian.
Yeah, this has been read by Robin, who joins the fight, but not before his bot lane will start dying. Mouse will come in with the Monsoon, knocking Gamers2 back. Robin now underneath this turret. Cedrian is down. It's 4 versus 3, but Teemo closing in from the top side. Jeepus is low. It just takes one auto attack to take him down. There it is, the blinding shot. Robin now following with the damage. There's the undertow, and Teemo just standing there with the damage. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3, and the Shroom goes down to cut off the escape route. Heaver as well takes a couple of hits, and there's a laugh for good measure from Teemo. Shut up, Teemo. And that's 3 for 0, so, or 3 for 1 rather. Mouse do come out ahead in that trade, 7 and 3 currently.
Yeah, Mouse come out ahead because Gamers2 going a little bit too ham under the turret there. Thought that they got the kill on Cedrian, which they did, but from there, the rest of Mouse just ended up dealing too much damage and ended up picking up Gamers2. And I mean, do we start entertaining the idea that Mouse
maybe.
You know, I mean, they're ahead.
They are, but
that
by
is the
300 gold and a
1 dragon. Yeah,
but they are behind in towers.
Yeah, it's not an overwhelming difference. This game is close.
I feel like we have to fast forwards like 15 minutes into the future and really see where Gamers2 then stand. Because yes, if Mouse snowball their lead right now, yes, they can get into a good position. But Gamers2, it's about their composition here.
Exactly.
And whether they can execute it well.
Gamers2 are going to outscale Mouse. There is no second thought about that. And that just means that Gamers2 have to not lose much now, so that they can just win later. That is the pretty much the be-all, end-all of this game. And you can see that Jeebus is ahead in this game when it comes to CS, but he is down 0-2 currently. And that's a Medjay onto Jana, who is currently actually in a good spot to pick up a Medjay. 105 is totally stunning fine. As he mean to go on.
Indeed, here in the bot lane. Again, Robin just spending all of his time down here. Will be going in for the Ragnarok. Save. Great save with the Fate's Call onto Annie, who just launches herself backwards away from the fight. And now Teemo will be getting his blue buff coming in here. Will get him the cooldown reduction to place even more Shrooms on his side. He was able to place Shrooms in the mid lane as well to repel the incoming minion wave while he was roaming. So that also allows him a little bit of safety there. Gilius jumping over the wall has not been seen by a ward just yet. Here comes the flash initiate with the Tibbers onto Cedrian though. He'll be heading backwards and he'll be heading down. And he gets taken out.
The immobility of Varus is just getting punished again and again here. Varus has never really had both of his summoners available past that first initial engage in the bot lane. So they've timed it so that he can either heal or flash and never do both. And they've just kept on top of him now. That's 2 deaths after the initial kills that he picked up. And it's one of the reasons why you don't pick Varus.
Yep, simply put, that is one of the reasons indeed. Low mobility, but there's a lot of things going in that bush. One of them is a Teemo Shroom exploding on Gilius.
Missed the other one.
Yeah, they now move on to this Dragon. Gamers2 are in a good position to do so. Robin does have a smite, however, doesn't have his exhaust or Ragnarok. It will have to be an undertow steal. That was not a good smite from Gilius. In fact, he didn't smite at all.
Yeah.
Ica was the one to pick that up. So the good burst at the end from Gamers2 was enough, but there was a very strong chance that Robin's undertow could have taken it.
Now, importantly, Gamers2, for their itemization, for their composition, they know that if they have Nidalee have too weak a dip in the mid-game, like she normally would be, or normally would do, it would kind of put them a little bit in a tricky spot, because they've got a Jax, they've got a Kog'Maw who's still waiting to scale a little bit. Callista also needs a little bit of time. They've actually opted for the Rod of Ages, rather than the tier build on Nidalee, which just gives Nidalee that tankier stats and a little bit sooner damage spike, or you know, curve back up into the game.
I mean, they have the damage already on the team. Why do you have to just go all in? But we did see the fan vote going the way of Gamers2. I'll be inclined to agree. Mouse currently right now not doing great so far. I mean, of course, they have started off this game well, and they are 1-8 currently in the standings. They have picked up their first win against Gamers2. So back onto the game, taking a look at the items now. Ica, as you mentioned in Champion Select, is opting towards the Lgends Echo.
Yep.
That new item, and has done it after the tier, so similar to a Cassiopeia build.
Yes, indeed. And one of the key factors on both of those champions actually is that you want to continue to move. You're always moving around in fights, whether it be forward, whether it be back, using your ultimate very often. You can see just how much damage Ica has with this. Forces the heal.
Yeah, heal comes out from Soz Pure Effect, forces the flash as well. Ica's continued damage is very big, just off the back of that big Lgends Echo power spike. So it will allow him to try and snowball the early game here. It's a big gold investment.
Yeah.
It's not going to give you the same as like a death cap or like, you know, a full AP item build.
But it is, however, a 120 AP item.
It is.
It's another big upfront item spike, and what it does is it basically adds a flat amount extra damage onto what Ica's doing here in these fights. So every time his ult hits, once it's charged, you're going to be dealing that extra 100, 125 damage again and again, and that makes it very difficult to sit in this kind of spot, because on average you've got to think that the proc from Lgends Echo is going to be coming up every 2 to 3 shots from the ultimate coming out from Cogmore, depending on how much you're moving around.
Yep, indeed. He'll be able to spam quite a lot with those skills, constantly get those Lgends Echo stacks out for the extra damage. Gilius moving through the jungle. He actually tried to bait out the vision there. You saw him get tagged by the shroom, but he knows that the vision is then gone. He showed himself recalling, so they assumed he was gone from their jungle, but then decided to go bot lane anyway. So Mao's not sure if he's entirely there, but Robin actually has read this one out, and this could be disastrous for Gilius. There's the ultimate landing, the Chains of Corruption. Heaver over the wall, rather, gets the stun down onto Cedric. Fate's Call keeps him alive. Zazas with the teleport from top lane. Let's Bounce comes in. Will be landing the last charge onto the Nidalee. Picks up that kill. A 1 for 0 so far from Mouse once again as they aggress onto the rest of this lineup. Mountain with the aggressive flash. Lands the charge onto Heaver. He turns around with his own stun, but it's not enough to keep him alive. Ica in from the mid lane will be using his ultimates to zone him away from a potential another engagement. So that's another 2 and 0. So Mouse are leading in kills and are still only barely leading in terms of gold. They're staying afloat, but they have to do more than that if they want to deal with the composition from Gamers 2.
And that was actually quite a good engage out of Zazas, getting into the fight, getting the Let's Bounce on 2 as well. Kind of punishes the almost greed of Gamers 2 for sitting around in that bottom lane a little bit longer than they maybe should have. Gilius kind of didn't pull the trigger on the bottom lane gank. And then they didn't lock down Cedrian to begin the fight either. And they have to. That you can't let a Varus just sit there. And the flash Tibbers was used out of Heaver. He has got that distortion to reduce the cooldown on flash as well. So expect to see that more and more. Didn't quite get Cedrian how they needed it to, and Cedrian survived.
Zazas again, using that elastic slingshot onto Smitty. Doesn't quite land it, though. And this is kind of what we were talking about before, though, you know, that Zazas, if he can land the initiate, great. That's where Maus are going to start picking up team fights and potential wins, but it's, yeah, whether he can change them. So far, he's done it. But in the top lane, there comes the Exhaust, the offensive summoner from the jungle. Soz Pure from the mid lane, though. Gilius trying to land the damage, and down goes Smitty in that 3-man roam. Teemo even chimes in for another assist. No shrooms in mid lane that were previously set up are trying to clear out this minion wave. Isn't quite enough to take the entire minion wave down, though, so Ica takes the turret for it. But it looks like Robin and Zazas might be able to do the same top.
Zazas may very well have found a champion that he feels comfortable engaging on, because this is a lot better out of Zazas than we've seen all season long. You can see Ica just can clear that wave so quickly right now, and he's already put damage down. They don't have enough minions to clear this, but they've already done 2/3 of the health of the mid-inner turret, and that's only going to get faster and faster as this game goes on. But honestly, Maus still are ahead. Still Maus. I find myself bemused at how a Teemo and Comp is ahead, but they're ahead, and we'll see whether they can maybe look to extend their advantage. But the problem is the lights are going out for them. G2, Gilius specifically, they're going deeper and deeper into the Maus jungle, establishing vision, putting the wards up, denying the mushroom vision as well. And Jeebus just... This is not the battle you want today,
He was trying to get the last auto attack, but Mountain got there just in time with the shield, so he did manage to keep the tower alive.
That's the epitome of, you won this battle, but the war isn't over.
Indeed, yeah. But Gamers 2, yeah, of course. I'm really interested to see what happens mid-game, because that's really where they'll start accelerating, and Maus will have to change their game plan. They can't just go from lane to lane and expect to pick up kills anymore. They'll have to group up and maybe try and engage onto the very long-range composition of Gamers 2. So we'll see how this works out for them. Yes, indeed.
And it's even more difficult when the Jax is ahead on CS as well. 177 to 123, and that's only going to get worse as Jax is going to split push. He was standing on a ward, so nothing too out of the ordinary from Mouse's perspective in that bottom lane, but this dragon is dying very quickly.
And again, that's not a smite going down by Gilius.
That is a Callista, though.
It is,
so
but it survived on 18 HP. And then the last auto attack came in, so again, the tornado almost picking it up. Couple close calls, but...
Oh.
wait, what? Okay, now throws him in. There's the Tibbers onto 2, but Mountain is there as well into the bush, lands onto Robin. He'll be flashing
That's
away,
not the
leaving
fight
his
you want.
Annie out to dry. Again, Heaver goes down. He's 0-4 right now. He's not had a good time in bot lane. Robin just always seems to be there.
Yeah, that was not such a great engage. It looked it when the Tibbers landed, but then you realize the distance put between Annie from the Fates call and then flashing and then Tibbers. It was not exactly the best of engages.
Yeah, he was saying to Jeebus, you have to toss me, because he wasn't quite in range, so he did toss him. And
just don't tell the elf.
Yeah, but it didn't work out.
No, not indeed. But something that is working out is Smitty J. Oh, clear the pink. Good. Okay, I thought we were going to have a moment there. I thought we were going to have one of those moments where the camera pans over someone and I'm like, they're doing a good job, and then they leave a pink wall.
I mean, usually it's when they're going from lane to lane, so they're looking at the other lane. This time he was going for the jungle, so he was more likely looking at his character that he's not going to get ganked. Something
that's kind of interesting is that IK hasn't yet opted for his level 2 boots, considering Kog'Maw is normally a more immobile champion. He's not getting pressured out for that, and has actually just gone back and finished his Archangel Scepter
tier 1
or
boots.
staff. He's at 671 right now when it comes to stacks on his Archangel
as well.
The Sorcerer's Pot. Here's
here's
the interesting point about the synergy between Sorcerer's Elixir of Sorcery and Luden's Echo. Remember that Elixir of Sorcery gives you 25 bonus true damage when you hit an enemy with a spell once every 5 seconds. Now Luden's Echo as well gives you the extra damage, so it's like almost on hit. You get this big 125 minimum damage down onto your enemy, and it shreds through them. Something that I spoke to Power of Evil a lot about Cassiopeia.
Yep, and he's doing the same thing on Kog'Maw, and he can do that from even longer range using those living artilleries, so we'll see how this works out for him, but it's definitely his mid-game play. He's even popped it, so they're gearing up for something, definitely trying to turn on the gas, turn up the pressure. Jeebus taking away the bottom lane farm, and now with that pre-established vision control, they're trying to do the same now. Now they'll start sieging these turrets. They'll also use Smitty J as his split pushing pressure.
Mouse right now don't have a lot of wave clear either. They're relying on fully charged Qs from Varus, Undertow from Olaf, which you can only throw out and then not collect because it goes right into the enemy team, and Janna Tornadoes against a Luden's Echo Kog'Maw who can do it on his own, and a Hurricane Callista who can do it on her own. So there's going to be a lot of pushing potential coming out of Gamers 2 in the next few minutes.
Teemo there, utilizing his character as a mobile ward. Even the pink ward, in fact, because he had the ability to see that ward there by Gamers 2.
It's going to be first pick now. Now that you've said that, everybody's seen the light.
I know. He has that twin use, as not only with the global taunt, but also as a mobile ward. Ica in the mid lane, clearing away these minions. And he's in pretty good shape. He's finished the Saracen Brace as well, so he's on max stacks of the Archangels. So he's now sitting on those 2 big power items. They are hitting spikes left, right, and center. Bottom lane with the, of course, as you mentioned, the item spikes. And on the top lane as well, Smitty J has reached his Blade of the Ruin King and Trinity Force. So if any time is for action, it's right about now.
Right about now, but not quite yet. Almost now.
Now soon, TM.
Now in a minute, which if we've got any other Welsh viewers on the broadcast will know exactly.
In a minute never means in a minute.
Exactly. That's the problem when you're talking to a Welsh person.
That's the North
now
of England,
in a minute. We've got problems dealing with time, okay? We just like to make up different units. But Gamers 2 right now are making up for time lost, perhaps, with yesterday's game, because you have to feel like if you're the only team that lose to a team like in a round-robin group stage bracket, that's a little bit of dent onto pride. Even though yesterday had a different situation, it is a little bit denting. Now, Gamers 2 are going to feel
risky.
Yeah, it's risky.
That's a lot of damage coming from Teemo and the Undertow from Robin. That's enough to send Jeebus packing.
But
Ica flashes underneath the turret. He'll be taking down the turret in time, or maybe not. Mountain comes in from the side.
Oh, the mushrooms!
He keeps him in place. There comes the Zephyr as well. The slow will come in for days. Robin, bam! Picks him up with his E. Reckless swing and takes him out.
Super Teemo blowing that. Yeah, exactly. The little trumpet thing.
He flies now. There was a bug a couple patches ago where he stopped flying, but
he's
really learned how to.
That's not a good thing. If you have a superpower like flying and you lose it, man, now that feels like Heroes.
Indeed.
That season was a bad season of Heroes, but anyway.
Oh, come on, man.
Season 1 was great.
Yeah.
But everything else after that, I'd rather just forget about. But just You know, Teemo getting kills, 4-0-2.
He's not
Are we on track for 100% win rate for Teemo in the European Challenger Series in more than one game?
So we were talking about it in the early game, and I think it's about time to just bring it up again about how we're going to see more happen towards later on into the game. Gamers 2 trying to play it a little slower. They're picking a composition where they're kind of just playing it safe. It's just like, we'll just wait it out and get stronger and stronger. So Mouse, as you mentioned in Champion Select, in fact, kind of have to hit a 20-minute win, and so far they really haven't done so. Or
they need G2 to flash and ghost past turrets with Ica. This is dying very quickly, actually.
Yeah.
This Baron is dying
Gilius isn't
far
close.
faster than I thought. This is actually going to be a Baron going down to Mouse.
But can Gamers 2 follow up on this one? Ica does get CC'd. He does get healed as well. He's got a lot of auto attacks raining down. He also follows up with the Tibbers and the Spear. Mountains should be falling here. Gets the takedown. Can Gamers 2 get anything else? They need to off the back of that Baron. Zaz is charging up the Elastic Slingshot. And Cedrian, he's pulling back 4 seconds.
It's enough.
He's out of there. Yeah, Ica picks the wrong bush. Not in time. He tries all of them, but he's too slow. So Mouse, they only lose one member for that Baron, and Gamers 2 were just caught sleeping. They went for the Baron themselves, they were pushed off it, and then for some reason they just didn't think that Mouse would have the clarity to go for that themselves.
Gamers 2 right now do not have their head in the right place for this game. They cannot be playing as aggressively as Ica wanted to play in the mid lane, burn both of his summoners and open up that kind of position for Mouse because, okay, so even we've been very kind of, I guess, downplaying this team composition from Mouse just because they're not standard picks. The problem is, if you let champions get too far ahead and you make bad decisions, you can still lose this game. And that is what Gamers 2 have started to do in the last couple of minutes. They were getting into the game again. They were re-establishing some sense of control. And look at the damage coming from Soz Perfect right now. This is all on the decision-making from Gamers 2 not being in the right place.
Yeah, any champion can win a game of League of Legends. It's just about usually that other champions are stronger at certain points in the game, and they can shut you down before you get to the point where you're strong. But as it is, Zaz comes over the wall for an engage. He doesn't land onto the team this time as they do kite back, but they should be able to pick up the turret. They have the zoning control. There's the Ragnarok. He can just carry on tanking, and he's not going to get CC'd under turret. Smitty J is turning on the split push Jax. He'll be taking this turret, and someone does have to recall to deal with him. He's already taken his objective. So they do trade turret. It was a smart play. Every time you get hit by a stream, it feels like an insult. But he moves into the mid lane and will ward his way as well as he goes.
Just a small reminder that Teemo is in this game.
Yeah.
However, they're going to see Smitty J recall right now and give the Baron buff over to these minions. They may be able to look to get that mid-outer turret. That should be their next priority for Mouse, but Ica has so much wave clear right now with this Luden's Echo. However, the Baron buff is going to reduce a lot of the magic damage here that is going to be done by Ica, so maybe his wave clear is not actually as prominent. Oh, Baron buff's gone, there we go. Yeah. But goodbye wave.
Yeah, I'm also interested if they buy like Banner of Command, because look at their wave clear, it's all very based on AP, and if that big cannon minion is all the way back, then you're not going to be able to kill it with ult from Cogmore or spears from Nidalee. So
that is true.
A possibility, maybe not, because it doesn't seem to be the plan they're playing around, and also trying to out-siege a siege comp is also difficult.
It's okay to talk about Banner of Command now, because it had, like, LCK had a Banner of Command, a double Banner of Command game. Okay. So it's okay, it's fine. It's not as a troll pick as the rest of this. Zaz wants to go in, he's sat on a ward though. Good ward placement out of Gamers 2 to watch their flanks. They know that's really one of the only ways here that Mouse can actually engage, and while they're waiting for Mouse to try and set something up, Gamers 2 are going to split push again with Smitty J up in that top lane. This time it's Jax. We saw the Fizz last week. Baron buff, I believe, has just expired, but the turret does go down.
Here's the 4-1. Smitty J in the top lane stops his push as Miles are also going back, so it would be too risky to stay on the top lane by himself. Gamers 2 are strong enough, or not if they hit shrooms, but they are strong enough to just kind of keep kiting back, and it really does. And then just keep Miles at range while Smitty J goes for his counter push.
Ooh, Jeebus. No, okay. That could have been enough for Robin to just go. I mean...
Yeah. It's also important to note that they have managed to get to some of their second-tier sweepers, which means they will have that Oracles as Heaver's going from bush to bush.
Yes.
So they will start clearing out those streams, and it'll become less of an issue.
So
but
Nidalee is also on her way to
Team will keep
completing
playing.
Sonya's Hourglass Parasol.
Flash into Chains of Corruption. There's a flash from Teemo as well. He receives a tip as Kiva from the left-hand side. Smitty J and Gillies from the right. They'll try and close in onto Robin. He's so tanky, though, and he goes right onto Ica. He tries to flash away. Undertow does not land. There's the spear coming down. The last Undertow does land onto Wormmore as he gets back to his turret. A 2 for 2 so far, trading bot lane for the jungler and mid laner from Mouse.
But look at Mouse right now. They are still pretty healthy here, and Ica has to go back. No summoners. It's only Smitty J and Gilius here to defend this turret. Cedrian didn't actually get locked down in that fight. Smitty J tried to find his way into the back. And Cedrian gets another turret here for Mouse. Mouse is still coming out ahead from these fights, and this is not what you'd expect from the number 2, potentially, or 3rd seed fight here from Gamers 2 against the lowest possible seed out of the round robin. They're actually out. They're done. Mouse are eliminated already, and Gamers 2 are struggling.
They are, indeed. And this, we've said it before, but this is very important for Gamers 2. This determines their seeding. If they win this game, they're in a much better shape because they take seed number 2, so they get to decide in their game up against Lowland Lions. And if they lose here, then Lowland Lions have that luxury. And we've seen how Lowland Lions have upset people before, so they don't want to give any extra advantage to the Lions that they possibly can. So yeah, they're not out of the game just yet. In fact, the gold is almost dead even. Only 800 gold advantage by Mouse. In fact, we're equal on turrets, we're equal on dragons. But in terms of kills, yes, its effect obviously translates into gold, and as we can see, it's fairly even. So Gamers 2, if they don't continue to fall behind, they can still win this game.
Yes, indeed. They still have the comp that will scale the best. This is an example of it. Smitty J is just going to push through. So's Perfect from behind. He even just stepped on a mushroom as well. That's a lot of damage going down onto him.
And the Howling Gale, again another Undertow, but Robin doesn't want to walk right into
bot lane.
Those 4 players.
Oh, it's Zaz's time. I thought it might have been Teemo.
We would have had that trade we were talking about before game.
I know, right? That 2-second blind trying to win the fight now. Didn't drag him over 4.
Yeah, Zaz's, though, should be able to delay this push. He's got the Sunfire Cape now, and he also has a decent amount of wave clear as long as he gets in range of the minions.
Interestingly enough, Ica, I guess, a little bit of a glutton for punishment in this game, has been flashing and ghosting onto people, and because of it, he's been feeling the pressure so much that he wants distortion as well on his sorcerer's shoes. So feels like his summoners aren't up fast enough, and he's going to try and deal with that with the distortion. I've just noticed there is a banner of command in this game,
but it's not from Mouse.
No.
It's actually from Hiva coming in here.
With the split push comp that G2 have already.
Ooh, value mushrooms.
With the split push comp that they've already got, that's going to put a lot of map pressure back against Mouse here. So there's still a lot to be done. And there's a Leandri's Torment on Zac as well.
Ultimately, they want to be pushing, but the kind of threat from Zaz's and a potential good engage from him, like an elastic slingshot onto a couple people, maybe the backline, plus the Let's Bounce, that's so scary to go up against. And Gamers 2 have to respect that, so they're just playing it slower. And Smitty J will pick up the dragon here, hopefully.
And here's the thing, it's just easier for Gamers 2 to get out onto the map right now. They've got better deep vision, they've got control over the dragon pit, they've got lanes pushing in their favor, and the dragon has gone down now in favor of Gamers 2. So at this point, G2 still have a little bit of control, but Smitty's been spotted out. Mouse aren't really doing anything with this time.
No,
and they can't.
And that's good for Gamers 2. Baron is still a thing, but it has been awarded by Gamers 2, and they have started it off. Okay, this is dangerous because Gillies is over the wall. They have a lot of poke. They have both of their pokers here. What can they do with it? Well, it's enough to zone Mouse away, and Cedrian taking a fair bunch of damage from Ica as he comes in with the living artillery. It is raining pain currently.
No teleport for Smitty J means that he goes back down to this bottom lane. They make sure there's no Baron attempt out of Mouse, and the wards are already down to spot Mouse out, so it allows G2 to turn onto the Baron should they wish to after securing vision control of the area. But Mouse have hung around, and Teemo's about to show in the mid lane. I wonder exactly what Gamers 2 are going to do from here. It looks like both teams kind of want to just back off.
Does not sound right when Varus says, "Do you want to dance with death?" when he's got that skin, but okay. 14-7. Currently do have that Baron dance that kind of petered out in games 2. You know, as long as they're around the right area, basically as long as they have Gilius and Ica around Mouse when they try to start Baron, it's never going to happen. It's just about having the chess pieces in the right places on the board.
And then they'll topple like a house of cards.
That's
checkmate.
That's a different game, but
that is.
Yeah.
It's multiple different games, but this is a different game to what we used to watching.
Entirely
because there's a
different,
Teemo in it. 5.5, while it's done a lot to the meta,
it's not.
It hasn't done this much. This is a little mix of Mouse wanting to play something a little bit special.
Like the cool thing is because champions are getting weaker, it means that some champions rise up, and that's how.
Not this one.
No, Teemo has definitely not bubbled to the top of the pile, but some champions definitely have, and we've seen a lot of innovation, which has been really cool to see. We'll just see what else could possibly come through. Robin now with the Olaf, he is aggressing in, but again, his problem is he has to run at them. He's already made it to the back line though, and they are chunking him down very quickly. He's the only one really going in. Gilius drops low, and the rest of the team is trying to tank up the front line, but now they can just keep on poking at long range. That's all they need to do. Keep zoning Mouse away.
Available.
Heaver, he does have it, but the only person he's in range of really is Zazas at this stage. Comes in with the Fate's Call, but the flash over the wall by Cedric keeps him alive. There's one kill, there's two. Just catches them on the back burner as they turn around, and now games 2 started with the Baron. This is a little risky as Zazas still has his ultimate.
Yeah, he does. He could be looking to go in, but is the damage follow-up there? It's only Cedric. Flash Tibbers
onto 3 players. Zazas will continue the charge into the team. Jeebus goes down. Cedric turns out, but there is the spear. Takes out the Varus, and Gilius will turn around. He'll keep healing himself. Smitty J is dropping low, but Zazad, he's going to turn into Bloblet. And now they should be able to clear these away. There is the final takedown. It will be Heaver with Tibbers burn around him, which will take out the last blob and secure the kill for them. And now Robin has come back from the dead. He's back from base. Mountain was the only survivor from the end of that fight. So games 2 do emerge victorious.
They do. No Baron has been taken, though. But Smitty J going to clear out top lane. Big Wave pushing in bottom lane towards Mouse as well. And this game has gone a lot longer than I thought Mouse could have survived on it for, because this is a very late game scaling composition out of G2. Although the Cogmore isn't the AD Cogmore that you'd normally say would scale very well, it still has a lot of late game damage, and we, to be honest, just haven't seen the straight up fight to really show that. Well, same with this Jax.
Yeah, but what is for certain is that last team fight really was a big step towards getting that second seed for Games 2. If they can continue doing so, then they will definitely do that. Mouse, though, they aren't putting up a fight, but are they starting to find the limitations of their picks?
That's a good question. Are they? I thought they would have a long time ago.
They've proved us wrong so far, but I think now you reach a limit, and I think we're approaching that point.
Yes. Yeah, I would completely agree with it. I mean, honestly, Gamers 2 right now would have to get caught out by something insane from Mouse, which I don't see happening from the Mouse camp. Yes, Zazas is very tanky, but that's going to get shredded through very, very quickly. There's 2 Blade of the Ruined Kings on the side of Gamers 2, so that tank is going to die in front of them very, very quickly. It just depends. I feel like if Gamers 2 try and do a dodgy Baron play, it could backfire and hurt them. They've got a great sieging composition, and they haven't tried to siege in 10 minutes.
Yes.
They've got a great 4-1 split push comp with this Banner of Command, so do it. There's no need to be sat around the Baron area. There's no need to get caught out. Yes, you've got a lot of damage, and you can show that off here, but your comp does something very different.
Yeah, I still feel they're scared of the potential Robin and Zaz's combo if they do get onto the backline. We've seen it before.
Oh, they caught Cedric.
Much damage Robin can do by himself. Cedric has gotten caught. He doesn't manage to get tagged by the spear, though. Just return with his own piercing shot.
But from this, they're getting nothing. Gamers 2 just used an engage tool and really just don't get anything from it because they're sitting around this Baron instead of using their composition. The Banner of Command is available again. We're into the point of the game where you're getting them every 2 waves, not every 3. Smitty J, he's trying to 2v1. There's the blind.
Yeah, he uses the leap strike to get back to that ward. He's basically just trying to run away from this engagement. He is faster than the 2 of them. Move quick from Teemo will keep him in range, but of course he has no CC. He uses the heal as well to try and get in range, but again, jumps away to his minion line. Robin and Mountain as well. There's the Zephyr. here. There's the knock-up. He should go down.
Oh,
the damage from Teemo was enough even without the reckless swing.
The value
this is
flash
mistake
Zephyr.
after mistake by Gamers2.
And Gamers2 don't even need to be doing this. They don't need to be around Baron and allowing Mouse these kind of engages. The smite's still available for Gilius, but where is he? He's closing in on the pit, and Jeebus can't approach because of these mushrooms. This is too much
and he
damage!
Gets caught as well. It's still ticking down. The Baron goes over to Mouse once again, the second Baron of the game. Smitty J's death timer was so incredibly long since he's all been farming this game, so he's level 18. It meant his death timer was around a minute, meaning it was 4v5 no matter how long Gamers2 prolonged that. And they just lost another member. Jeebus goes down.
A massive wave top lane here that is about to get buffed up with the Baron buff onto the minions. Look at the amount of
triple cannon
here. This is insane.
Oh,
Cedric, wow, okay, just gets choked.
They need to call in Shieldios because they need to keep those cannon minions alive.
Off the Krugs. He's going to be back in this fight in a sec.
Yeah, he's got Bloodthirster plus Blades of Rune King. He went from 10% to 80% in a mere seconds.
Now, the rotation game is on from Mouse, so they look for the mid lane, look for an inhib turret maybe. Kalista still only coming up in 8 seconds. I can't believe this game is still going on.
Yeah, but it is still later on to the game where Gamers2 should be thriving.
Zazas can't fight this alone.
No, he can't.
The rest
He's
of
already
Mouse
used his Leap Strike too.
Dragon is up, though, at the same time. Blue buff goes to Ica. That's really important because it allows them to siege if Gamers2 were choosing to siege.
Yeah, Mouse as well picking up their third dragon of the game. We've had 6 dragons total. Gamers2 are not in position. They're not in the position to siege anymore.
No.
Because before they were, they had the opportunity. They had it for a good 10 minutes, and they just did not utilize it. Now they're on the back foot because of Baron buff. Dragon is also picked up as well now. So, yeah, Gamers2, they need to wait out until they can start doing this again, and then they just need to take it with both hands and siege that seize that opportunity to siege.
Oh, bottom lane, Soz Perfect might be caught. Here's the 1v1.
Yeah, there's the flash, make it a 2v1 as Ica did come in as well. There's the last insult of Soz Perfect with the shroom that he placed down at the very end of that engagement, but it doesn't do all that much damage. It did have the Leandries, which is chunking down the extra health that Smitty J has picked up with his item build. He's now gone for a bit of magic resist, also with his Warmog's armor. So, of course, he's gone for that core item build, but he's rapidly approaching 6 items. And this is the stage in the game we typically say how strong Jax is, but Gilius has been caught out and they can't afford to do this. Robin, though, in return, doesn't manage to take out Ica. His team wasn't with him right there. Soz Perfect also died in the bottom lane, so now it is a 3 versus 5. Gamers2 use this opportunity.
They have to. There is no other option for Gamers2 right now. No Baron, no Dragon. You have to go to a turret, and that is fine. That is fine with this composition. Put Jax down in the bottom lane or into the top lane. They haven't controlled the waves to capitalize on this. They cannot impact top and bottom until the waves push in manually, at which point the 2 members of Mouse are going to be back. So this is just poorly done by Gamers2 when it comes to setting up their composition, which they just have not played around. Now they're being a little risky pushing up. They have the damage to do it. If there was a full engage from Mouse here, they may be able to stop Gamers2 a little bit, but Mouse are only 3 players. Soz Perfect has only just joined, and Teemo can't really do much in that situation.
And the whole team is also very poked down from Gamers2. Lots of chunk damage coming through. So, yes, they did have the engage from Zazas, but choose not to go for it smartly.
And here, they just chunked the entirety of the Mouse lineup down below half health, but because the top and bottom waves are not pushing in their favor when you have a banner of command on Annie, there's just nothing that can be done. They didn't set this up at all. Yes, it's partly because Mouse were pushing in the other lanes earlier, but before you start edging towards that mid lane like Gamers2 did, it's not too difficult with a teleport on Jax. You can walk Jax into that lane until you get to the mid lane and then teleport him in if you need to.
Well, they do have a big minion wave opening up in the bottom lane, so that was a potential for them. They just felt like they wanted to go back to base, complete a couple more items, I guess. Like, there's the Void Staff now coming through. 4 items now onto Jeebus as well, along with the Quicksilver Sash. They try and get out some of that CC, potential slows from Robin's Undertow. Bottom lane is perfectly set up for Gamers2 right now. Smitty J is setting up the top lane. Middle lane is now being sieged in. This is the right play, but they just need to execute it well.
This is how the map needs to be for Gamers2. Big wave in the bottom lane. Jax in the top lane. The rest of the team in mid, holding Mao's beyond arm's reach. There should be no way. Now Cedrian shows. Now they show with Cedrian there could be a push onto the inhibitor now if they're fast enough, but the team mushrooms are doing a little bit too much in the way of warding Gamers 2 away.
Now Smitty J and his wave have finally washed against the top turret, so Zaz will be trying his best to zone him away.
Oh,
Simply doesn't have the damage, but Robin comes in. Iker is just way too far forward. There's let's bounce onto the back line. Julius takes some damage, follows through with the spear onto Zaz's. He does have his passive available, so he's a little harder to kill. Lots of damage onto Gamers 2. Iker is fairly low, but they will try and continue the assault. Bot lane is pushing in. Someone has to deal with that. They are using this opportunity well. They're clearing out these Teemo shrooms as long with the wards. They're trying to take this middle inhibitor. They need to be so careful.
They're being a little bit greedy here. Smitty J and Robin are going one-on-one. And once Counter-Strike is down, Olaf is going to be able to take this. Varus has managed to die in this to Cogmore. The mid lane fight has gone so much heavily in favor of Gamers 2 that they should be able to push in.
Is moving in here. Does manage to zone them away with those auto attacks. Keeps up the assault. Middle inhibitor goes down, but they lost their big late game trump card. That is Smitty J on Jax. So they'll have to back away. And, you know, I kind of have to just talk about Smitty J in general and split pushing, because last week we saw him on Fizz. We talked about the article by Glacier, but he was overextending multiple times. Like, he would go onto the turret, he would die versus the Morgana. We saw him do that 3 or 4 times, like going underneath the turret. His split pushing is not on point, and we see the same this game on Jax.
This is really smart out of Mouse, though. They know that Baron is up in 1 minute, so they're trying to chase Gilius out as much as they can and push mid first, get the vision up. Soz Perfect still just playing nuisance. Oh, no, that's too far.
Too much, and you are caught within the Voidoos, and there is no getting away from that. That is a 75-second death timer. Gamers 2, the ball's in their court.
If he'd have stopped in that bush by Raptor Camp, just put down a mushroom and a ward, that would have been enough. That is exactly what he needed to do to just chase Gilius away for a little bit longer until the team were in control around the area with wards. However, it's Gamers 2 that are now going to start the Baron dance. Smitty J uses his teleport ahead of the fight just to shove the top wave in to make sure that nobody from Mouse can actually be in front of this Baron pit when the Baron spawns.
Okay, so now Gold has gotten to the point where it's kind of stopped mattering, and it's now just about the champion picks at their full potential and decision-making from both of these teams. Gilius over the wall, trying to find a way into this fight, and Mouse are just hammering down the mid lane. They're looking for a push, but now they're caught between a rock and a hard place as they're 4 versus 5.
23 seconds still on Soz Perfect.
Robin will be using Ghost Blade to try and increase his movement speed to get away. He was getting gradually chunked out by the Cogmore's Rain of Death. Now they're pushing down the middle turret. They're going to try and trade Baron. What are Gamers 2 doing?
Gamers 2 on a warded Baron. Yes, they will get it. They're going to lose the inhibitor for it. The question is, can Mouse get themselves out of this situation before Gamers 2 arrive? They're getting boxed in a little bit. Mouse may lose one here. If they lose any more than one, this is game.
They move on to Mountain. There's the first kill. Now heading on to the escaping Zazes. Does get the Blade of Rune King down. He'll be using Let's Bounce, reducing some of that CC. So it's perfect from the backside. He just managed to disrupt him. Also with the Fate's Call, lock Zazes down. Now they just need to deal with the Bloblets. And that's 2 kills going the way of Gamers 2. These death timers are very long, 80 seconds on Zazes. They had the Baron as well, but look at these shrooms. They are chunking down Gamers 2. They are very low. This engage, okay, they're pushing down the middle lane, and now the recalls come up from Mouse. This has gotten a little riskier than they may have wanted.
Yeah, Cedrian shoved a wave into the bottom. With the Baron up minions, G2 should be able to clear this. It depends on how much damage that Cedrian and Soz Perfect can do to clear the waves. G2 are a little bit hesitant on this. Soz Perfect!
They better be! Teemo with the ambush damage comes out of stealth.
No way!
There's 1, there's 2. Double kill comes out. He flashes forwards, looks for the 3rd. That's a triple for Teemo. Yes, those words just came out of my mouth, and I don't know what I just said. Wow. Literally surprised them with the passive from Teemo.
No way.
What did I just watch?
The ward play. The ward play out of Soz Perfect. No way is that going to win a game. It's 50 seconds on the death timers.
I'm speechless, Stress.
50 seconds left. What is this?
Only Smitty J is alive. He's up against 4 players. Mountain has now come back from base. Zazes has teleport. He's up in 10. This only looks better for Mouse with this composition. You can feel the quotes, the air quotes coming from me right now, Stress. And Cedric are pushing down the middle lane.
Teleport to the mushroom. First time in competitive
Robin
play.
is taking a lot of damage. Can Smitty go?
This is
versus four.
This is game.
Will he do it? He jumps into the back line. He goes away from his turrets. The minions are now there. That is ace. 5-0. Gamers 2 in a 50-minute slugfest in a composition that should be coming away with the win at this point in the game. Get beaten by a Teemo. History in the making, ladies and gentlemen. Incredible, honestly. So we were racking on their composition for so long, but then Gamers 2 just make mistake after mistake after mistake, and it was capitalized by Mouse. Honestly, had they played like that through the rest of the round robin, we could have a very different playoff picture here.
So what we're saying is, if Mouse had picked Teemo 10 games in a row, they may actually have got to the playoffs.
Maybe, Stress, maybe.
It highlights a massive problem on the Gamers 2 side.
Yeah.
That their decision-making, again, it's their calls on when they should be sieging, when they should be taking Baron, is not in a good place right now. With that kind of composition, being only moderately behind, there was no 15k gold lead. There was no massive lead from Mouse. It was purely on the decision-making from Gamers 2, and Mouse capitalizing on it. Let's not take anything away from that. Mouse let Gamers 2 make the mistakes and then utilize that. That is not a good sign for Gamers 2 heading to playoffs.
No, it is not. And I said before the game that they had convinced me that they'd become a second place team because I was a doubter for such a long time. And I kind of feel a little bit validated on that now from what we just saw in that game. We highlighted the problems that they had from top lane with the split pushing. There's a lot of issues to fix as we head into playoffs for this team. And they really should not have dropped that game. And, you know, that from Mouse as well, they almost felt like they fixed a lot of the problems throughout the playoffs. And I almost feel like it's a bit of a mentality thing, right? When you're playing with literally nothing to lose, and we saw that in the previous week where, again, they were still eliminated, but this week they actually went with this quote-unquote troll composition, but they had the mentality that they had nothing to lose, so they just kind of played it how they would without any kind of doubt in their minds when they went for plays. And that's apparently what they needed. Yeah,
I mean, they beyond had nothing left to lose because something that kind of would have affected the game in the sense that it's news that broke last couple of days ago. Mouse are making changes to their lineup, so that roster isn't actually the one that will be competing as Mouse going forward. So there was nothing to lose. But for Gamers 2, they now do not have the seeding in their playoff game against Lowland Lions. That's out of the window. Lowland Lions now get to pick their side.
Yep.
Lowland Lions are on the up. Gamers 2, that was a horrendous...
A sloppy performance for sure.
Horrendous performance of decision-making when it comes to it. I mean, mechanically fine. Ica got himself a lead, looking pretty good on the Cogmore, but they just couldn't close the game with a composition that in the late game should have closed that out. They never wanted to siege and split.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think it was down to the decision-making. And we even said it in the late game where gold stopped mattering, and it was down to the decision-making and the picks that they had gone into the game with. At that point, it should be Gamers 2 winning 100% of the time up against a team like Mouse, but they didn't, and that is a big problem for them. But with all of the round-robin games played out, let's take a look at the final standings and what that game meant. So, Origin are now 9-1. The win streak has been sullied by Lowland Lions, who are now in second. And then that's followed up by Gamers 2, who are behind Lowland Lions, so they will get the choice of sides on games 1 and 3. Then Team Dignitas are trailing behind in 4th, but they made playoffs. They eliminated Reason Gaming, who are now in 5th. And then mousesports somehow are now 2-8. It doesn't mean anything for this season, but if they can continue playing well, it might mean something for summer.
We'll have to see. I mean, they at least got some pride back at the end. But what that means with regards to the playoff brackets, as you can see, Origin, our first seed, will play Team Dignitas EU, our 4th seed. That will happen on Wednesday. The other semi-final is going to be Gamers 2 going up against Lowland Lions White.
Yeah, so we'll see how those games go. Yeah, very, very interesting how this all worked out.
Yeah, so the way that it's going to work is the higher seeded teams, as we said, will have the side choice for games 1 and 3. So very important to be the higher seeded team there. Both of those series are best of 3. And that means next week is going to mark the start of playoffs, actually, and we'll be bringing you 2 broadcast days. We'll be broadcasting on Tuesday and Wednesday, starting at our usual time of 6 p.m. at CEST.
Yeah, man. As for the games, on Tuesday, Lowland Lions White will face Gamers 2 in a best-of-3. Then on Wednesday, Origin battle Team Dignitas EU in another best-of-3.
So lots of action to catch up on, and if you did miss any of the action from today, you missed a lot.
A lot happened over the last 2 days.
If you want to watch any of the games from the European round robin as well here from the Challenger Series, head over to lolesports.com and check out the VODs hub for all of those.
And while you're there, you can book your ticket to the European Series Spring Split Finals, which will be broadcast live from our studios here in Berlin. So make sure to check that out and come visit us. But while our Spring Split round robin is complete, the League of Legends fun doesn't stop here. Tune in again at 11 a.m. CET or 3 p.m. Pacific time for Primetime League.
Yes, indeed. And after that, Freak and Zyrene are going to be bringing you the final week of the 2015 North American Challenger Series. Let's see if they get any Teemo in North America.
See if it's just as crazy as ours. But remember, guys, this week also marks the last regular season week of the European LCS and the last chance for teams to change their standings before playoffs. But wait, there's more, because Stress will actually be joining them over on the analyst desk.
Yeah, I'll be a guest on this week's show, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how last year's Challenger teams are going to place at the end of their first split in the LCS. It's going to be an awesome 2 days of games.
Yeah, it'd be super cool to see, so good luck out there, Stress. But that's all from us. So from myself, Stress, and the entire broadcast crew, thank you for watching, and thank you for your support throughout this entire split. We'll see you next week for playoffs.